Hello and good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is David Taylor-Klaus, and this is episode 133 of Mindset Mondays with DTK. This is an ongoing series of weekly live broadcasts designed for folks who have a growth mindset or those who'd like to create one. It's designed for folks who are focused on getting better at being who they are at their core, rather than being distracted by merely getting better at doing what they do. This is an opportunity to really create shift in your world. All right, so if you'll take just a moment before we start and click share underneath this video, invite your friends, your colleagues, your community to the conversation. The more voices, the richer the conversation. Ooh, all right, so it's been a massive week. This has been book launch week. I launched my book, Mindset Mondays with DTK, 52 Ways to Rewire Your Thinking and Transform Your Life. It launched on Tuesday, right after our last broadcast. So the week has been rather full, and it's nice to be back in the broadcast arena and out of the book space. I know that I'll be back in it in about 15 minutes, and it's great to be back here where the playground started. So here's what we're playing with today. I remember the first time my dad, a lot of you know him as Dr. Poppy. I remember when my dad had his first experience that I witnessed of him being a patient himself. And man, I immediately understood the old adage that doctors make terrible patients, because my dad made a terrible patient. Imagine what it must be like coaching me. And it was, I think for him, the discomfort was ceding control, right? For some, it's acknowledging weakness. I think for him at that point, it was ceding control in an environment where he was normally completely in control. But whether it's ceding control or acknowledging weakness or needing help, man, the last one for me is the one that's the biggest trigger. You know, the narrative that comes up for me is, but I'm a coach. I shouldn't still be dealing with fill in the blank. I've already dealt with this. I figured this out before. I don't know where the hell that comes from. That's but I'm a coach is just incredibly self-abusive. Imagine if my father had said, but I'm a doctor. Why do I need to go to the emergency room? Because I'm having a heart attack, right? And in addition to being self-abusive, it really undermines my humanity. It flies in the face of the truth that we all have stuff to work on, all of us. And that's what the playground is today. I myself am made entirely of flaws, stitched together with good intentions. And thank God for the good intentions, right? I myself am made entirely of flaws, stitched together with good intentions. Yes, we all have stuff to work on all through our lives. That doesn't change. We all have flaws. And it's how we hold and navigate and address those flaws that make all the difference. You know, if we believe that we have no flaws, wow, that's got to be the greatest flaw. For me, the goal is to hold my flaws with what Shirzad Shamin talks about as blameless discernment rather than self-judgement. For me, the goal is to be intentional about fixing them. For me, the goal is, the biggest stretch goal for me is to address them with kindness to myself. That's the challenge, is acknowledging that I have those faults, those flaws. Acknowledge, not pick up the billy club, not even pick up the back scratcher. It's just about noticing that that's who I am and where I am right now. The idea of blameless discernment comes into, look, discernment is going past the mere perception of something and making nuanced assessments about its properties or qualities. And doing that blamelessly. Yes, I can be impulsive. Yeah, I can be quick to assess. Yes, I have angry reactions to some things, initial reactions. Those are flaws of mine. Now I can beat myself up for them. I can say, oh my God, I'm a coach. I shouldn't still be doing this crap. How effective would that be? And when we beat ourselves up for something, it makes it even harder to address it. It makes it harder to find those nuanced assessments about the properties or qualities or trigger points of those flaws. And until we do that, it makes it harder to shift them, to change them, to replace those behaviors with something else that serves. Damn, it'd be easier just to judge it and move on. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't. You got to sit in it and stare at it and look at it and turn it over. And you can't do that if you're beating yourself up the whole time. Imagine if I'm trying to notice all the different nuanced pieces of this. Well, if I'm holding billy clubs and beating myself up the whole time, I've got nothing left to hold this. It's a really weird example. That's just what was sitting next to me. But again, that's the piece. Is how can you bring kindness in? How can you stay in blameless discernment? Oh, I hate those how questions. Okay, so the opportunity is, what will it take for you to, rather than beating yourself up when you identify the flaws, wow, to hold those flaws in blameless discernment? Maybe it's the word flaw. That is kind of a shitty word. What if it was, this is just a characteristic? I think the nature of the word flaw makes this harder. I myself have made entirely of flaws stitched together with good intentions. Now, I think flaw needs to stay. I think I think the word flaw needs to be there because it is something that wants to be changed. But it's the invitation is to play in that space of blameless discernment. Coach that I work with talks about the idea of, imagine your world is an inverted cone. It gets wider as it goes up. And imagine that there's small ribs going up the sides of that cone all the way around. And each of those ribs is one of the threads, one of the things that you navigate in your world, say one of your flaws. So how I navigate money, how I navigate reactivity. It's using systems and processes, love and relationship, different areas of my world, say it that way. Man, life is not linear. So our world is traveling around the inner surface of that cone as we go up. And we keep hitting those same threads, those same topics, those same ideas over and over and over and over again. We just keep hitting them at a higher level. So every time I navigate my resistance to systems and process, I'm doing it at a higher level every time I hit that thread. I'm hitting it here, and I'm hitting it here, and I'm hitting it here. And every time I hit it, I'm navigating those issues at a higher level. So that's why saying things like, oh my God, I'm a coach, I shouldn't be dealing with this again. Well, that's not true. as long as we're growing, as long as we're moving forward in our journey, we're experiencing each of the issues in our life at a different place, at a new level. I can't think of anything I've dealt with that's not one and done. I mean, that is one and done. That I navigate an issue and I never have to touch it again. Okay, maybe puberty. Didn't really have to touch that again after I was finished. But again, keep navigating the same topics in our world over and over again, but at different levels each time. New level, new devil. And what if we face those each time with fascination? Wow, ooh, I get to learn something more about this. Not, damn it, it's this again. How different is the energy? Oh, cool, I get to learn something from this again. Versus, ugh. The energy would be really different for me. It's inviting in opportunity. It's inviting in the chance to use something that would normally give me agita to give me a gift. When I started this whole broadcast series back in February of 2018, I did it because I hated flipping on the camera. I hated walking out on stage. I hated the discomfort that came from all of the internal narrative and the beating myself up. I wanted to become more facile with talking about anything through the lens of my point of view and doing it on camera. So that's why I started Mindset Mondays with DTK. The idea is that I would take one of the quotes on the back of one of my cards and riff on it for 10 to 15 minutes. Well, given that this came out of it, yes, it expanded a little bit, but it was about, instead of dealing with that flaw of, oh my God, I had this internal dialogue that makes me want to curl up in a little ball and not do this, not get on camera, not get on stage, not have these conversations, which would have been so easy. In fact, it would have been a hell of a lot easier. I started turning on the camera and having the conversations. Oh, look, I get to learn something from this. Instead of, oh my God, I'm a coach, I shouldn't be dealing with this crap. Or, oh my God, I'm a so-and-so, I shouldn't be having to deal with this. No. That's a recipe for the status quo. That's a recipe for staying stuck. It's a recipe for ulcers. You probably heard this a couple times in conversations with me. Jason Hartnov was taught by somebody, it may have been Toku McCree, who said, your first 6 videos are gonna suck. So get out there and start sucking. In other words, get over it. Get past it. Get past the irritation, the agitation, the you don't know what you're doing, and start playing. I invite you to the opportunity of blameless discernment. To, without blame, take the time and the space to go past the mere perception of what you see as your flaws and start making those nuanced assessments about its properties or qualities. Examine it, turn it over, and do it without judgment. Blameless discernment. When you hold your flaws that way, see what you learn, see what you notice, see how quickly you're able to disconnect it. Yeah, Mary Virginia, thank you. Mary Virginia mentions kintsugi, idea of fusing broken pottery back together using gold. So thousands of years old, a process of making the very imperfections part of the art. You have a piece a large piece of pottery up on the wall that we, not having molten gold to do it with, we glued it back together and used paint to cover up the gold paint to cover the glue. And it's a fabulous piece, and it hangs in our kitchen. The gold lines ripping through it to make the imperfections a stark reveal. And it's a great thing to have there, a great reminder. And yes, by the way, Neil, you can. It's not about convincing your brain. There's a great book called Positive Intelligence by Shirzad Chamine. In fact, I lead programs on that work. And it's about that. It's the idea of strengthening the self-command muscle for exactly that reason. Because you can convince your brain to be on board with it. And it is a muscle that you strengthen. It is a practice that you engage in. It is a function of mindfulness, because it's that opportunity to step into blameless discernment. And in fact, when you notice that you've started judging, not say, oh my God, I can't believe I'm judging, which is judging, is to say, oh, look, notice, yeah, judging again. Wow. And then let go of it. And that's the trick. It's to constantly remind yourself and bring kindness into it. Your good intentions will go a long way. I am myself made entirely of flaws stitched together with good intentions. Well, give yourself a break. Lean into those good intentions, bring kindness. And instead of flogging yourself for it, merely notice that you've gone into that pattern of beating yourself up again. That's what I do. It takes a lot of practice. It's just changing a neural pathway. So this is a week for you to practice blameless discernment. We're a week into the last third of the year. It's kind of exciting. We had a fall day this weekend. It was almost like we were no longer melting in summer. I'm sure Atlanta will have another melter or two. And we have an opportunity in the last 4 months of this year to create something incredible. And your access point to that is through, absolutely, the blameless discernment, through the opportunity to look past what you call the flaws and begin to notice the elements of what's part of your behavior. So between now and next week, I invite you to practice blameless discernment and let go of the billy club that you're beating yourself with. So between now and next week,